Good evening. I just wanted to read one devotional out of the Bible, one of the stories in my study Bible, and then call it a day because I have a lot of stuff to do that I have not been doing. So I can't keep procrastinating. All right, when Jesus sees, read Luke 13, 10 through 21. I don't know what this is going to say. I've never read it before, so. From an early age, we're taught to look away from those who are different. Don't stare, we're told. It's rude. Often people with disabilities, sorry, I just ate a granola bar. From an early age, we're taught to look away from those who are different. Don't stare, we're told. It's rude. Often people with disabilities make us uncomfortable, so we learn to pretend we don't notice that someone has a deformity or scars or walks with a limp or moves around in a chair. Unfortunately, we sometimes take it one step further and pretend we don't see the person at all. The woman in the synagogue had spent 18 years being overlooked. She was bent over like a question mark, staring at the ground with her own 2 feet. Her own 2 feet. She couldn't see the faces behind the words, but she knew the tones, the jokes, and the whispers. She could hear people hurrying past and skirting around her. And while plenty of people looked at her, many probably looked the other way. Only one truly saw her. When Jesus saw her, he didn't turn away. He didn't pretend not to see her. Instead, he spoke to her and touched her. She was set free from her infirmity. Her 18 years of living with a crooked body drooped away, and she stood straight and tall, seeing Jesus face to face. In that compassionate interaction, Jesus had an encounter with someone the world tends to overlook. He showed us that, first of all, we need to see others, to look at them and acknowledge their presence as God's creation, precious in His sight. When we look into their eyes, we'll see a human being and not a deformity, disability, or limitation. Second, we need to speak to that person as we would anyone. Conversing normally shows that we're not intimidated by the person's disability. Even if we were just talking about the weather, we are expressing our interest in the other person's words and opinions. Third, we need to be willing to touch them if it's appropriate. Human touch is a mysterious, powerful tool that communicates worth and significance through something as simple as a handshake, a touch on the shoulder, or a hug. Everyone needs to know that they are valued. When we begin to see others, as Jesus does, as human beings with value and significance, we might become the window through which they can see Jesus for themselves. I like that one. I thought that was a good one. Let's see. Read Luke 13, 10 through 21. Read Luke 13, 10 through 21. All right, let's read that really quick and be done. Jesus heals a crippled woman on the Sabbath. On a Sabbath, Jesus was teaching in one of the synagogues, and a woman was there who had been crippled by a spirit for 18 years. She was bent over and could not straighten up at all. When Jesus saw her, he called her forward and said to her, "Woman, you are set free from your infirmity." Then he put his hands on her, and immediately she straightened up and praised God. Indignant because Jesus had healed on the Sabbath, the synagogue leader said to the people, "There are 6 days for work, so come and be healed on those days, not on the Sabbath." The Lord answered him, "You hypocrites! Doesn't each of you on the Sabbath untie your ox or donkey from the stall and lead it out to give it water? Then should not this woman, a daughter of Abraham, whom Satan has kept bound for 18 long years, be set free on the Sabbath day from what bound her?" When he said this, all his opponents were humiliated, but the people were delighted. with all the wonderful things he was doing. I don't think I've ever heard that story before. The parables of the mustard seed and the yeast. When Jesus asked, "What is the kingdom of God like?" Wait. Then Jesus asked, "What is the kingdom of God like? What shall I compare it to? It is like a mustard seed, which a man took and planted in his garden. It grew and became a tree, and the birds perched in its branches." Again he asked, "What shall I compare the kingdom of God to? It is like yeast that a woman took and mixed into about 60 pounds of flour until it worked all through the dough." So like with that yeast dough flour example, it's showing how it creates like a complete transformation, right? The yeast on its own, the flour on its own, you combine it together, and the dough, like it's transformational. And then what was the other one again? Oh yeah, the mustard seed. The mustard seed is the teeniest little thing, and then it just grows, becomes like a tree, and the birds perch in its branches, etc. That's interesting. All right, anyway, that is it. I accidentally preached the gospel, probably very poorly. My entire family today. in a response to an email that also could have been responded to with complete silence, and that also would have been just fine. And for whatever reason, I responded with an extremely long conversation about Jesus. To everybody who is not Christian, which is the entire family, and some husbands and maybe wives. And nobody responded. So anyway, that happened today. So we'll see what happens as the outcome of that situation. But that is all I have to report for today. I hope you have a good day. Bye.